Can you hear me now?
There you go.
All right. 6:03, we're going to call this meeting to order. Mary Little is unable to attend tonight. She lost her voice, so I will be the president for tonight's meeting. Let's move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Menderborough.
Please stand. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to roll call.
Julie Beechner-Taus.
Here.
Joe Marcano.
Here.
Mary Little. Jose Gonzalez. Lori Eskew.
Here.
James Robinson.
Here.
Lori Cisneros.
Here.
Annabelle Werner. Thank you.
Right, moving on to an adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Agenda is adopted. Moving on to an approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting held on October 14th, 2025.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Minutes are approved. Moving on to 2.0, the closed session. We're actually going to leave right now and have a closed session, then we'll return back for section 3.0, public comment.
was dinner?
All right, good evening. We just concluded our closed session, and based on our closed session, there's further investigation and research we need to do, and that pertains to item 5.2.1 regarding the discussion and possible action regarding the historical documents. So at this time, we are dropping that from the agenda. We realize that a lot of you signed up for public comment on that, but we will not be going forward on that item tonight. So with that said, we will move on to public comment, but it won't be about that. Unless you really want to talk about that, it's not on the agenda, and we are limiting public comment to a total of 20 minutes per topic pursuant to board policy.
Agenda items and topics.
We have Penny Martinez.
Yay. Oh. Good evening. Thank you. My name is Penny Martinez, and I'm the current location coordinator for the Wreaths Across America event held at the Bakersfield National Cemetery. So for full transparency, I just want to let you know we reached our goal this evening, which is amazing. So, because it was pretty tough this year. It was really, really tough, so I'm just absolutely thrilled to announce that. But what's really fun is I still want people to sponsor wreaths because they will roll into 2026. And they're only $17 a piece, and that is an amazing way to honor those who gave their lives so we can meet like this. And I'm an Air Force veteran and a Navy brat, so I don't think we could ever thank enough our veterans for what they've done for this country. And I think it's really, really important that we get out there and support them with these wreaths and support them with all our historical documents as well that they fought so hard to keep and
One
allow
nation
all our
under God.
freedoms. So thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
for your service.
Thank you.
So we just come up here and talk as long as we don't talk about the one item, is that correct?
You can talk about that item if you like, I think, right?
I won't. I won't.
Okay.
Good evening, Superintendent and trustees. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm a concerned citizen, parent, and grandparent. I've been attending this board meeting since 2021. Boy, what a dramatic change in leadership with new board members and superintendent. The people of Kern spoke and put the previous members out to pasture. It is rewarding their replacements are younger, intelligent, and caring individuals with common sense. For those of you who didn't experience those days, you were fortunate. God has his way of rewarding believers. I thank this board and superintendent for supporting parental control in our schools and exposing the failure of our state leadership in California. The state focuses on sanctuary state for illegal immigrants, homelessness, the welfare system, and transgender favoritism. And that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Erica Delgadillo Rodriguez, and I am the mother of Hannah Trevino. an autistic student in the Lamont Elementary School District. My daughter suffered an accident August 6th of 2025, and my daughter has not received instruction. I have done everything, and due to the retaliation from Catherine Mears, Special Education Director in Lamont Elementary School District, and me reporting the abuse of my soon-to-be ex-husband and current president, Pablo Trevino, who has participated along with Catherine Mears and Lori Gonzalez, ex-superintendent of Lamont Elementary School District. They have tampered legal documents in my daughter's IEPs. She has not received any instructions, and they have not taken responsibility for the accident my daughter suffered. Here is the sheriff report. My daughter was neglected and hidden in a cafeteria for more than an hour. And they're refusing to take responsibility, denying my daughter special education services. I have asked for your help for years, Dr. John Mendiburu, and I'm here to continue to ask for help in an investigation in my daughter's case. I found out August 6th that they're tampering my daughter's legal documents. Not one IEP reflects any of the medical notes I have submitted to Catherine Mears in the Lamont Elementary School District. That child right there deserves to have a free public education. They forced me to sign an agreement to stay quiet, intimidating me by having individuals break into my home in August. But I only found out that they are continuing to tamper my daughter's legal documents. They're using intimidation and retaliating against me and my family. I'm here to ask for your help. I'm here because that child deserves to have an independent evaluation and services for her autism. The retaliation against me has been so much that in September 26th, when I went to turn in a letter, Dr. Lori Gonzalez had an employee follow me and attack me and cause me an epilepsy attack outside the school, and we had Maria Osuna lie to law enforcement, and they hit my chest. I have a pacemaker, I'm disabled. They're refusing to amend the IEPs. Not one reflects any medical notes or my daughter's medical conditions or necessities at the school. They're refusing, and they continue to do corruption. As a mother, I ask for your help for an evaluation in IE and for an investigation in my daughter's case. She
Thank you,
deserves
ma'am.
justice. Thank you so
Thank
much.
I just have a question, and that is, does the postponement of the historical documents issue also include postponement of the Liberty Council potential agreement? So that's
Yes.
So it would be best to, that'll all be encompassed in one, right?
Correct.
When you hold it. Okay.
That-
Thank you.
Yes, that
Thank you.
that entire topic is off the agenda today. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Robert Tafoya. I was a lawyer for 24 years, a judge for 18 years plus. With respect to the resolution, I understand it's not going forward. I was respectfully request that you attach as an addendum to the new proposal, new resolution, a copy of the language that you intend to depict on the wall. I like to look at the language. Okay, and with that, we'll see you whenever you take up the matter again.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Audrey Chavez, she, her, ella, and I'm blessed to be here tonight, particularly about this subject. Although I can say that for probably close to 4 decades, we've been talking about issues like these, and I feel like we're continuing to revisit them. So one of the things that I wanted to share was that our responsibility as a board is to provide uplifting resources that prioritize our students' education, correct? Protecting the boundary of personal faith and public education, keeping schools out of costly legal battles, safeguarding public trust and resources for students, reminding school boards that faith is personal and not political. So I wanted to be sure to share, because I got here at 4 o'clock just to be able to be part of tonight and have my voice heard. So I'm going to ask if those who believe that these commandments do not belong in our schools, if you can please stand. If you believe that they do not belong in our schools, whether you're in this room, the next room, or the overflow. Okay? Thank you. I want to say that we must stand firm. Let us protect separation of church and of state. This is my sign here that says, "Don't put the 10 Commandments in our public schools." And when I lift it, I'd like people to please share that. Our public schools are for every child, regardless of faith or non-faithful. Liberty Counsel, which is a Christian legal organization, publicly opposes students' rights who are LGBTQ+. And I feel that that is a disservice, because our responsibility is to ensure that all of our students have access to education in our public schools. This resolution endorses one religion, and therefore it excludes all others. I am Christian, by the way. Our taxpayer public schools are to provide education and not religious instruction. Don't put the 10 Commandments in our public schools.
Could you turn your sign up the other way, please?
No, it's for my audience. Our schools must prioritize inclusivity, neutrality, or academic excellence. Therefore, I ask all who agree to please say the following: don't put the 10 Commandments in our public schools. We have to stand firm. We have to protect this separation. We have to recognize that our public schools were created to be just that, public schools. And it was because of discrimination that they became public schools. We have private schools, we have charter schools.
Thank
this
you,
is
ma'am.
our taxpayer money. Once again, don't put the 10 Commandments in our public schools. And this is what it looks like for y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sarah John, and I'm a resident of Bakersfield. I'm also an intern with the ACLU of Southern California here in the Bakersfield office. Because of the lack of a remote option for public comment, I'm reading a comment on behalf of the ACLU of Southern California. They also submitted a letter yesterday opposing the resolution to display the 10 Commandments in schools. This board wisely refrained from moving forward with a resolution requiring the posting of the 10 Commandments in schools earlier this year, because that requirement would have violated the religion clauses of the California and U.S. constitutions and would have exposed the board to litigation and costly attorney's fees. The board should refrain from moving forward with tonight's resolution for the same reasons. Courts would have no need to even address the federal constitutional arguments because the resolution so clearly violates the California Constitution. One reason the board is proposing to sign a contract with Liberty Counsel is that Liberty Counsel has agreed to represent the board for free. But legal representation is only a small part of the potential cost of the type of lawsuit the board would invite if it passes this resolution. When school districts have lost similar cases, they have been forced to pay over $1 million in attorney fees to plaintiffs' counsel. If Liberty Counsel really has the courage of its convictions, it should modify the proposed contract and agree to indemnify the board for any and all fees won by any plaintiff's attorneys who challenge the resolution. If the city proceeds without that kind of guarantee, it risks recklessly throwing away vast amounts of taxpayer money in pursuit of its unconstitutional agenda. The letter submitted by the ACLU cites extensive case law that makes clear that courts would determine the resolution violates the state constitution in numerous ways. The resolution violates the no preference clause by highlighting and endorsing the importance and centrality of a set of religious principles that is at the core of some religions, but that has no relevance to others. The resolution violates the California Constitution's no aid clause by elevating a set of religious beliefs that are central to some Judeo-Christian religious traditions to the status of documents that form the foundation of our system of government. It also violates the teaching religious doctrine clause because it is clear that a prominent display of a religious document is a form of instruction, and religious instruction is clearly prohibited by the clause. Passing this resolution would be a losing battle, and the board should not invite it. Aside from wasting taxpayer dollars, passing the resolution would also foment religious divisions within the community by expressing a clear preference for some religions over others. If the board really cares about religion, it should let people determine their own religious beliefs without government interference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Reverend Dawn Wilder, pastor of Emmanuel Lutheran Church and parent of students in Kern County. For a while I thought that I would spend time creating clever presentation on the historical and clever cultural depth of the Ten Commandments. Context teachers would now be expected to navigate in their classrooms, and the shocking truth should be persuasive. But the reality is, you already have the votes to pass this. It may be why you're waiting to vote, since Mary Little is not here. So I have to ask myself, is it even worth my time to explain to you how you are about to desecrate sacred scripture by turning it into classroom art and political propaganda? When my time is consumed fielding calls and emails and text messages from parents of non-binary and trans youth and adults in Kern County who are terrified for their children because this board consistently bears false witness against the ones that they love. And since we're talking about the Ten Commandments, this board takes the Lord's name in vain every time you invoke God to justify Christian nationalist policy. You dishonor parents by inserting yourselves between them and their own children. You covet power you were never entrusted to have. Power over families' faith, over kids' identities, over children, over teachers' moral agency. You have made an idol out of politics and called it righteousness. You steal the dignity, safety, and belonging every child deserves in public school. And by using the Ten Commandments to push an agenda, you profane the very scripture you claim to honor. If you truly cared about the Ten Commandments, you would stop breaking them. Vote no.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Gabriel Garcia, and I am a youth organizer with the Dolores Huerta Foundation, and previously I worked as a high school Spanish teacher. And I just want to start by saying thank you for allowing us to continue to talk on this topic, even though, well, you know, it's off the agenda. Thank you. But it's obviously very concerning to us. And I know that a judge earlier mentioned wanting to see some language, but honestly, I'm asking you guys not to even open the doors to that possibility. I did some research. I know some people probably did here on Liberty Council. We know they're from Florida. I did some research, and I don't think this proposal has passed in a county in Florida. So it's so strange that they are choosing Kern County to do this. So we have to really ask ourselves why. We know that Kern County is the most conservative here in California, and we know that California makes headlines. So I think they think we're an easy place and that we're vulnerable, and they don't know that we're strong and that we are diverse. We have a Sikh and Punjabi community, a growing Korean community, Muslim, Jewish families, many different Christian traditions and indigenous communities whose practices go back thousands of years on this land. Our diversity is one of our greatest strengths. And when I think about history, I also think about how indigenous traditions and entire cultures were erased by colonizing practices, especially when religion was forced on people. So we have to be thoughtful not to repeat those patterns, even if it's unintentional. And then we know this proposal comes with this contract involving lots of money if we get sued, because we know that lawsuits will happen. They know that lawsuits will happen. And I think they want this to happen. It's the whole purpose. They're prepared for it, and that tells me that it's what they want. And I don't believe we should let Kern County be used as a battleground for someone else's agenda. If they truly cared about Kern County, they would help us with our real needs, better opportunities for our students, more resources for our teachers, maybe even helping restore water in our river. I don't know. It's just disrespectful to you guys, our board members who have a difficult job of representing our students. Is disrespectful to our students, most of all. I don't think we should welcome them, and respectfully, we should tell them, no, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nadine Escalante. I'm a community member with ACLU and Bakersfield Community Policing. I'm a proud Native American of the Choctaw and the Creek tribe. So I'm here to talk about the history in the United States with religion in Native American schools, the trauma that it did to Native American people, my family, my ancestors. My grandmother and my grandfather were so impacted by it that they never ever spoke about it. They were forced to go to schools for their education, and instead they got religion. I don't want to see this for my grandchildren. I don't want to see the Ten Commandments. We are practicing Catholics. I do not want your Christian views on my Catholic grandchildren. That's what the community is saying tonight. We do not want your views. We need to look at the history of this country from 1812 to 1975, forcing religious beliefs onto Native Americans because white people felt they had that authority. And that's basically what it is. It is white people feeling they had that authority because you did not own this land, my ancestors did. I purposely wore this shirt that says savage, it's in the blood, because that's what your ancestors who came to this land uninvited and stole our land, property, raped and murdered our people, you guys were not welcomed here. And that's why I wore this shirt. And you could say, wow, because my grandparents are proud of me right now.
Ma'am,
saying
please
what I'm
address the
saying.
board. Thank you.
You should control the people that you have speaking. The lack of respect that I have seen in these board meetings compared to all the board meetings I attend in this county is ridiculous. How you guys, leaders, should start showing people how to behave and how to act respectfully in this space. Thank you.
Thank you. We got enough time for two more speakers on this topic. Two more speakers. So decide amongst yourselves which two of you are going to speak on this topic. Just two. Thank you.
Thank you for this time I can address the board. Thank you for all that you do. I support the Kern County Board of Directors, the Board of Education, adopting a policy to allow the display of the Ten Commandments. It would make a significant shift back toward the values that our nation was founded on. When the English colonized America, they didn't start from scratch from writing laws about themselves. They used ideas and laws from England. One of the well-known laws was called the English Common Law, and its content dates back to ancient times. In the 15th century BC, a group of slaves who lived in Egypt were rescued and guided into an eastern land. These people were given the Ten Commandments to help instruct the way of their civil responsibilities to God and to each other. Some of these were valuing human life, being honest with each other, valuing private property, and valuing the covenant of marriage. And when these people followed these commandments, they were blessed as individuals in the nation. And when they didn't, they experienced consequences. In 890 AD, King Alfred the Great used the Ten Commandments as a foundation of English common law. He had them codified, that is, enacted by a legislative body. Some of these laws enacted, for example, were no public exposure, no prostitution allowed, no drunkenness, and no disorderly behavior. The English common law was used in some of the colony's civil laws, and later it was incorporated in the Seventh Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, and it is also known as the moral law, as stated by John Witherspoon, signer of the Declaration, Noah Webster, William Penn, and John Quincy Adams. Another historical fact is that the New England Primer was the first textbook printed in America, originally published in Boston around 1690. It was reprinted frequently over the centuries with millions of copies sold. It was used throughout the entire United States to the beginning of the 20th century. And this text contained the Ten Commandments. It has blessed and guided both children and adults for over 150 years. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Got time for one last speaker on this topic. Please state your name.
Good evening. My name is Louis Gillum, a retired public school, high school teacher, and a volunteer organizer with Faith in the Valley, which is an interfaith network of 120 congregations in 8 Central Valley counties, including Kern. Our members practice Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, indigenous, and other faith traditions. We welcome everyone. And tonight, we stand in firm opposition to this resolution that would promote only one expression of morality in public schools. We oppose it not in spite of, but because of our faith. We respect and support the common values and moral expressions of all faith traditions, and to endorse any one expression over the others would do violence to our core principles of unity and diversity and unity, as well as the core principles of democracy. That's why the Establishment Clause was written and, unlike religious texts, ratified into law. The standard argument for such performative public displays of piety is that our society needs to return to morality. Well, I have to say it does. It needs to return to the kind of morality that upholds family values by holding families together rather than tearing them apart in the streets, the fields, and their homes because of the color of their skin, the language they speak, or the places where they work. The kind of morality that condemns the weaponization of food and medicine as bargaining chips in the battle to give tax cuts to billionaires. The kind of morality that measures the wealth of a society not by how much it extracts and consumes, but by how much it preserves and protects. The land itself, the water, the air, and all those who live closest to these realities. These are the kinds of ethics you cannot hang on the wall. They're the kind you struggle with in the secret, sacred places of the heart, day after day, and in the dark night of injustice, even when it's unpopular, and even when nobody is looking. Anything else is wallpaper. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment on that topic. Do you have a topic other than the Ten Commandments you'd like to discuss?
No, I just want to say that you're promoting Christian nationalism. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Do you have a topic other than the Ten Commandments?
My name is Valeriana. I just wanted to
Please
say,
sit-
yeah, I'm getting there. I just
It's a
want to
yes or
say
no
maybe if we could be in that hour that was closed session.
Okay, thank you,
know.
ma'am.
I will be here at the next meeting and the next,
Thank you, ma'am.
as long as you're talking about it.
My name is Ellen Schaffhauser. Can you make it clear as to when we can talk about this topic?
It will be on the agenda perhaps in the future.
Perhaps in the future, sometime in the future, huh?
You-
I come here from an hour and a half and I come to this meeting, and then you take an hour out there?
Thank
No.
you, thank you. Do you have a comment about anything other than the Ten Commandments?
I've never spoken before. I thought maybe I didn't know.
Can you get closer to the microphone?
Oh, yes, I am so sorry. I would politely ask if I could have 15 seconds.
You have 15 seconds.
I didn't have my paper. I didn't think you were going to let me. I thought you were going to tell me. No, I'm so sorry. Okay, I was going to say, I think that putting the 10 Commandments in school would be against the tax dollars.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to 4.1.
May I ask something really quick, please?
Ma'am, you already spoke.
I did, but this was an agenda item, and all of the people who are here took their time out to be here. Whether you researched your own agenda items or not is not their fault. They should be allowed to speak because they've taken their time out to be here.
On the agenda, it tells you that there's a 20-minute limit per topic. So please follow board policy. Thank you for being here. We're moving on, sir.
I'm not addressing the Ten Commandments issue. I'm just saying that policy.
Please state your
about-
name, sir.
Paul Linfesti. I just want to say that I wish the board would, I understand you have a 20-minute limit, but the board needs to really look at that. I know at the supervisor's building, everybody who shows up is given their chance to say no longer how it goes. It's only a monthly meeting, and as has been already said, a lot of these people came prepared to speak, and I really think you should reconsider that time limit policy because so many people put their hearts into what they're planning to say.
Thank you, sir. We do have other business to attend to tonight, but I appreciate your comments.
I'd just like to say that I'm appalled at this board.
What's your name, sir?
People's time
What is your
tonight.
name, sir?
My name is Brian Russell, that you had to take time out of this evening when so many people showed up to speak on a topic, took all this time to waste our time while you talk to your lawyers like you haven't done that before, like you didn't know that this was going to cause some sort of litigation for you, like you're totally ignorant of all these things, that you decided to waste the time of all these people tonight and not even vote on what they came here to speak about.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Ready to move on? Okay, we're going to move on to item 4.1, presentation, CASP and CASP data.
Thank you very much. Every year, all of schools in Kern County and throughout the state take the annual CASP and CAST data. This is a one snapshot of student progress throughout the 24-25 academic school year. Today, all data was released to the local school districts and to the public, and we have Dr. Eddie Gonzalez, who is our executive director of the KIDS program and division, who will be presenting on the summary for Kern County. So these are all the Kern County schools put together as one report. So, Dr. Gonzalez, it's all yours.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Bendaburo. Good evening, esteemed Kern County Board of Education members. It's both an honor and a privilege for me to share our latest state assessment results for Kern County students. The results come from the CASP assessments in English Language Arts and in math, as well as the CAST assessment for science. I'm going to go ahead and start out with English language arts, and it's important to understand first that it's not every single student that is tested for English language arts. This typically happens in assessment windows for grades 3 through 8, and then again in the 11th grade level. So first, let's look at the ELA CASP standards met and exceeded chart. Student scores are measured at 4 levels with standards met and exceeded demonstrating proficiency. So while all our students and teachers are striving for proficiency, we had 39% of students in Kern County achieve that goal. You can see that's a slight growth over the previous year. For extra and additional context, I'm also showing what the scores were in comparison to California last year. So you can see with the light blue graph, it represents the 2024-2025 school year. And then with the darker navy graph, it represents the 2023-2024 school year. What's also important for us is to understand what that looks like over a 4-year period that we often consider the COVID recovery years. And if we look at it over that 4-year period, we do see that Kern County has exceeded our growth, has exceeded the growth of the state at 2.0% compared to the state at 1.7%. So again, it's important to note that that within the last few years, on each individual year, the state exceeds us by proficiency levels. However, on a 4-year term, we exceed that growth. So now let's look at the second graph, and this is our ELA CASP distant from standard. This measure includes all students, not just those who met the standard, and it tells us how close the average student is to reaching proficiency. In Kern County, our students improved their score by 4.7 points, meaning they moved noticeably closer to the state's proficiency line. In Kern County, our students improved their average score by 4.7 points across 4 years, moving noticeably closer to that distance from standard as compared to the state growth at 4.0 points. Next, we're going to focus on our socioeconomically disadvantaged students. Our socioeconomically disadvantaged students in Kern, for context, were 152,000 students over the last school year. Looking at this group, we could see that again, we scored last year lower than the state average percentage. However, across a 4-year period, we've demonstrated higher growth at 3.2% compared to 3.0%. With our ELA CASP distant from standard, we've demonstrated a much more substantial and encouraging growth at 7.7 points as compared to 6.2 points for California. When we look at English language learners, we noticed that there was a dip in negative 1.1% as well as negative 2.1% across the state of California. Our dip was not as pronounced as that of the state of California. However, there are some unique considerations to take within the respect to the English language arts test. And as you're going to see a little bit further in the presentation, we did make a noticeable improvement or encouraging improvement within math. When we look at ELA CASP distance from standard in Kern County, we also dipped negative 6.7 points as compared to the state of California at negative 9.1. However, our dips weren't as pronounced as the states. And again, when you see the math scores in a few slides, those do show encouraging improvement. With our students with disability, this is notably a group of over 24,000 students. And here again, our proficiency level is lower than the state on a year-by-year level. However, across 4 years, we do have a 1.5% growth as compared to 1.4% with the state. And then when we look at distance from standard, we've improved 6.5% in Kern County as compared to the state of California, which is exciting for us because it's demonstrating consistent and sustained growth over this time period. When we look at homeless students, population of over 4,000 in Kern County, we could see just a modest growth of 0.5%. However, the state did dip negative 1.1%, and with distance from standard, we also showed modest gains at 1.3 points as compared to the state, where there was a very significant dip of negative 7.1 points. With our foster youth, those scores have remained flat. The state of California did have a 1.9% increase. However, with distance from standard, we did show some encouraging growth at 2.2 points as compared to the state of California at 2.5. Now, going into mathematics, it's important to understand that this is very similar to the ELA CASP score, where this is only a window, where there's only a window of assessment from grades 3 through 8, and then again in grade 11. When we look at these scores, we do show sustained and considerable growth, 3% across the 4 years. However, that is below the state's percent increase in proficiency at 3.9%. So we're growing, just not at the rate of the state, and our scores are lower than the level of the state. When we look at distance from standard, we are also moving at 7.3 points. However, that is noticeably lower than the state of California at 9.8 points. When we focus in specifically on our socioeconomic disadvantaged students, we do have an increase over the last 4 years of 4.1%. This percentage is higher for our socioeconomically disadvantaged students in math as compared to ELA. However, it's still behind the California percentage rate at 5.0 over the last 4 years. With our math CASP assessment distance from standard, we do have an encouraging growth of 9.9 points, however, still below the 11.8 points of the state of California. Now coming back to our English language learners, as I mentioned earlier, this is definitely more encouraging than what we saw with English language arts, where across 4 years we've improved to 1.4%. And that's slightly above the state of California at 1.3%. However, it's a friendly reminder that year over year, proficiency levels, California does outperform us. However, longitudinally over the 4-year period, we are showing sustained growth. Now with distance from standard for our English learners, this was much more modest at 1 point of growth compared to the state at 0.9 points of growth. With our students with disabilities, this is a group again of about 24,000 students, or just above 24,000 students, and we had a 1.2% growth, which is encouraging over the last 4 years. However, this is still lower than the rate for proficiency at the state level, which is 1.7%. When we look at distance from standard, which is how all our students are moving collectively across the test, this is an improvement of 8.1 points, which is encouraging, and it is also above the state average improvement, which is 7.4 points. With our homeless students, this is also very encouraging. We have an improvement over the last 4 years of 4.3% as compared to the state's 1.7%. And then with our distance from standard, we have a 4.2 point improvement as compared to the state at 1.4. So those are very encouraging for our homeless students. With our foster youth, very similar story. It's a much smaller population, just above 1,000 students or 1,300 students. And we have a 3.5% increase over the last 4 years. Whereas in the state of California, we have a 2.9% increase in proficiency. And then when we look at distance from standard, it's a little bit less substantial, more incremental, but we do have 1.7 growth in points as compared to the state of California with 1.2. However, both are still above the state growth. Now with science, it's important to understand that this is going to come through a different testing window for our students. And there's also going to be a new metric that you're going to see, or there's going to be a different metric that you're going to see in the coming slide. Students are tested with science in 5th grade, 8th grade, and then typically 11th grade. And so you still see the same standards met and exceeded. This is exciting for Kern County. We've gone up 4.1%, which is one of the higher total for Kern County overall when compared to math as well as ELA. And it is above the state average over the last 4 years of 3.2. However, I do want to emphasize again that year to year, the state has higher proficiency levels, but in terms of growth and sustained growth and consistent growth over the last 4 years, in many of these cases, we're exceeding what's happening across the state. Looking over at CAST points, so this is different from distance from standard. This is the average score of all students who took the test. In Kern County, we had a 2.5 point increase compared to California at a 1.7 point increase. For our socioeconomically disadvantaged students, we had a very encouraging growth of 4.5% over the last 4 years, compared to the state at 3.8% growth in proficiency. With CAST points, we had a 3-point increase over the last 4 years. And with California, we had a modest 2.1% or 2.1 point increase. And again, consistent, sustained, and above the state average in terms of long-term growth over the last 4 years, taking us through the COVID recovery. Back with English language learners here with the CAST test and science, we have flat results throughout the 4-year period and a very modest growth across California with 0.2%. Also a modest increase in points at 0.8. However, that is slightly higher than the modest increase across California in 0.5 points. With our students with disabilities, we have a 1.5% increase, which mirrors the 1.5% increase over the last 4 years of the state. However, I think that this graph really points to serve to illustrate that, again, in California, the state average is significantly higher than the average in Kern County. But when we look at what's happening in Kern County across the last 4 years, we see that our growth is, in many instances, either matching or surpassing the growth of the state. Now focusing on our homeless students with science, we have a 0.7% increase in proficiency. Across California, there's a 1.5% increase in proficiency, so our increase is lower than that of the state. And we do have 0.9% growth in points, and the state has a little bit of a more modest percent growth at 0.4. With our foster youth, we have a 0.7% increase. And then you see we also have a 1.9 increase in points. Again, consistent, sustained, slightly above the state average, and a reason to be encouraged. With our foster youth, very similar again, with the points, we're slightly above the state average over the last 4 years in terms of growth, and then we're slightly underneath with our proficiency level with standards met and exceeded. So here I want to just, again, kind of highlight and bring back anchor the room and what it means as a 4-year growth trend. So it's, as we look at the 4-year trends, we can see that Kern County students are making steady and meaningful progress in English language arts, mathematics, and science, while our overall proficiency rates still have room to grow. So these consistent gains in both the percent of students meeting standards and the distance from standard show we're making steady progress in closing the achievement gap. This progress is a reflection of the hard work happening every day in Kern County classrooms, from teachers, support staff, and school leaders to students and their families. So now at this time, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Dr. John Mendebrough, who will speak to how these results connect to our broader goals and the work ahead of us.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. We know there's a lot of numbers that we threw out there. But it's important for everyone to know that's how the state evaluates and looks at each of the categories and subgroups. A lot of the LCAP funding that the districts receive are based on the total number of students in each of those student populations. What we're doing with this information, we have been doing for the last several years, but we're continuing moving into this year, is we're now looking at all this information regionally. We've broken up our county into 5 specific area regions, and we're looking at all the more in-depth numbers by district to see where the strengths and weaknesses are, and then we are going into those districts and regions and providing support. Dr. Cole Sampson, the Assistant Supercurriculum Instruction, has been providing a lot of professional learning for those districts and very customized to what the districts are needing to really help those students grow. And you can see over the last 4 years, we have been outpacing the state for the most part in all those areas because of that work and effort. So we do things such as going into classrooms, helping teachers, particularly new teachers, with teaching curriculum, modeling lessons, helping with students, small group instruction with the various subgroup categories, EL students to foster homeless to socioeconomic disadvantaged school sites. So we do, and we are continuing to work with those districts. Because of the efforts, also the state released the differentiated assistance, which is a tabulation of not only the ELA and math scores and science, but also chronic absenteeism and other data points that they look at. Last year, we had 18 districts who qualified for differentiated assistance, which we went in and helped. The new numbers now, we have only 13 districts, so we have seen a drop in districts needing differentiated assistance, which is huge for a county of our size. And this is the work and the efforts that you're seeing there. So wanted you to know as a board what we're doing beyond within our classrooms, within the county, and although the test scores are just one test, but it does give a validation of all the other multiple measures that we utilize in school districts through the Kids Data platform and helping and working with districts. They also, when we meet with them with our management analysts, which are employees that go out, look at the data specific to that district, and they start customizing what the specific needs are for that district. And then we start looking at regional and how we can support districts more collaboratively and share the resources for them. So just wanted to update you on next steps on what we will be doing. And then next year you'll see the same presentation and continue to see the outpacing. One note just for you to also look at, when you look at it and you go, okay, outpacing, but yet our numbers, as Dr. Gonzalez was going through, looks lower than the state. You have to realize every county has their own unique makeup. Kern County has a broad group of students that will come and go in our county. And so oftentimes they're not with us for the full duration of that 3rd grade through 8th grade or high school duration. And so some of the numbers will reflect that or kind of go up and down based on that. But because of that, we're still seeing a good growth for our students. And at the bottom of the day, at the end of the day, as long as the student is growing somewhat and we're moving those students from the below standards up, that's the goal that we have. So we're continuing to do what we need to be doing for our students. We'd like to obviously be better as far, or better numbers, because the higher the numbers, that means the students are learning and retaining more. So our continued goal is to work on that as we move forward. If you have any questions or anything for Dr. Gonzalez or myself, I'll just make Dr. Gonzalez answer. No, I'm kidding.
I had a question about the format of the slides and the way the graph was. On the left side, I noticed the percentages were different.
Correct.
So sometimes the top percentage was 50%, sometimes it was 25, sometimes it was 15, sometimes it was 5.
Correct.
Can you explain that?
So some of it was stylistic to be able to focus in and show the levels of the scores. And so one of the big differences from the left-hand side to the right-hand side is the right-hand side was also, it's an alternative measurement used by the state. So one of them was distance from standard, which is how much closer we're proceeding towards the standard. And then when it came for science, it was the points. So what you saw happening on the right-hand side was the collective outcome of every student tested. What you saw on the left-hand side was students achieving proficiency.
Okay.
And then it gave us kind of like the opportunity to zoom in a little bit more and show exactly what those changes were.
Oh, okay, so the bar was higher if the percentage was lower. Just trying to understand the logic behind that. So, okay, I think I understand what you mean by that. And then what is the overall goal of proficiency for our students?
One of the when we look at the proficiency, every teacher and every student goes into the exam shooting for standard met and standard exceeded. So that means that they are proficient. Once you hit standard met or exceeded, that's proficient.
So would that be considered 100% if every
Correct.
Student was proficient?
Correct. So percent would be per 100.
So our goal can't be 100%. That's not realistic. So what is the realistic goal for students to reach each year? Do you have a set standard as far as a goal, like 80%, 70%?
So typically, the goals come from the districts themselves. So and
Okay.
and it comes through setting those measurable and sustained goals, and then supporting them, because each district that we're supporting, each group that we're supporting, has different unique needs. And then given that context, we're able to really tailor and customize our support to help them achieve those goals. But I can say that when we go out, the goals are high and the expectations are high.
Also, compared to when we were in the classroom and we got those or what was it before? I don't remember what it was called, but we get the API numbers. On this, its baseline is a 0. So standards met means they're at a 0.
On the right side of the slide,
yeah,
right?
so you
where
have that line that has
yes,
0 going across.
that was the standard.
Then if students did better than that, then they were meeting standards or above.
Okay.
If they're under that, that's where the students are, how far behind of the standards are they? And so you would see, and then off to the side, you had some numbers that were like a 20 or 50
Yes.
or 75. It's because the smaller the number of student population, the graph was tinier to see. So we had to
I figured
change
that's
the
what it
number
was. So it
to
looked
make-
like,
so that
okay.
you were able to see what the actual growth was
Okay.
instead of these little tiny macrocosms at the bottom.
Yeah, I see what you
Okay.
mean. So yes, if we had every single one to scale, we'd have to zoom in to every single one.
And my next question has to do with your strategies. And I know that Dr. Mendebro shared that KCSOS has a team that goes in and they help with support and offering intervention. Are there changes to that mode of intervention each year as you analyze the data, or are we just trying to redo the same thing? Because I'm noticing that the scores are improving, which is good, but man, we're so far from where we want to be, and that's really concerning.
So what's exciting is with some of the tools that we have here in Kern County that are unique, such as the Kern Integrated Data System, we can make those instructional decisions much sooner, so we don't have to wait for these longer summative exams to come back. And that's one of the tools that schools have in our county. So we're able to make these data-informed decisions in terms of how we're supporting districts much sooner, quicker, and tailored to their needs.
Yeah, I'm talking about strategy, though. Have you researched other counties that have similar demographics that you could get best practices from that we could implement ourselves?
Yes, we have many robust networks like within our statewide system of support. So we do learn from other counties, and also one of the big assets and values that we have within our internal Kern County teams is that we have a great groups of teachers who've come out of our local schools as well. So they know their districts very well. That on top of a lot of updated professional development, networking, connecting, bringing some of that knowledge back to Kern. But I also want to point out that we're also known very well across the state for being able to share and spread some of the great things that are happening here as well.
Yeah. That's good. I just hope that we can maybe explore, because I know we were talking a little bit before about what else can we do? You know, what else can we do as a board, as a district, to help improve those scores? Because I would just love to see it move up more than it is. It's hard to celebrate. I know we're celebrating the 0.2% increase, but we're just not there. So that's just in my heart as a teacher, and I know others share that same feeling. So we just want to encourage you to keep researching and finding those best practices, and maybe in other states. I mean, maybe somebody's locked something in that's working that maybe we can try.
Thank you.
Just an idea. Thank
One
you.
of the other things that we're doing beginning in this school year is, as I mentioned, with the regional division of our, not division, regionals sections of our county, is we're starting to now cross-share resources. We're finding what districts are doing well and sharing that with others. We're hoping that we'll see more of an increase, because we see some districts that are really growing, but we see others that may not be. And so by working in the regions, there's much similar student populations, and we're able to kind of go through that nature. The other networking that we do is our GeoLead work, where we are working with 6 other counties. And part of that discussion each year is to see how we are supporting students and what mechanisms or resources or what's been working well, not well type of thing. That's also starting to see help by being beyond just Kern County and bringing things in. So we are working on those type of things as we're moving into it. So we're hoping to see a greater increase as the years go on because of that cross collaboration that we have otherwise not had up to this point. It's always been us going out to a district and working with that specific district. Now we're looking at beyond the boundaries because we realize it doesn't really matter where the students reside, where they live. They're all of our students and they move around, and we need to be able to support and help each other with that. So we're seeing a kind of a shift, and Dr. Sampson with his team is doing just exactly what you're saying, is what is going well here that we can share over here, instead of in the old days, I do my thing, you do your thing, and we kind of just worry about our students that way.
Right, and I recognize that our district is unique. I do see that, because we can't really compare to Texas, where they have a different demographics and different home lives for those kids, and you know, I know there's a lot to the research. I just want to verify that with you, that there's a lot of layers to it. I know it's not just like, hey, it's working over there, let's apply it here and see if it works. So, but I just want to make sure we're looking at other districts, other states, other data, not just ours. And I'm just really hoping that we can tap into something that's actually clicking for the kids to really excel. So, thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, by the way, anybody wants to get sick, we got 2 doctors here, so you should feel better already. Doctor, wanted to ask you too, when did Common Core go into effect? That was what, 2012, 2011?
Commons Core started probably around 2012, 2013, around that time window.
Okay.
And it got fully implemented around 2015.
Okay, and up until that point, that was what? That was No Child Left Behind, or what was there?
Yeah, prior to that, it was the No Child Left Behind.
What was before that?
It was the Elementary School Education Act back then.
Okay.
And it's still called that. Each administration kind of dubbed their own. No Child Left Behind was George Bush, and then Obama changed it to something else that was short-lived. And then
Is there any historical data regarding Kern County, the education progress or lack thereof, that goes back before the implementation of Common Core? You might know it off the top of your head. Were the numbers for No Child Left Behind in this county better than the numbers that we have seen under Common Core here?
the assessments and the data that we looked at back then was based on an API score. And there's no equation, is no equivalent number to say if you were a school of 802, you should be at 55% above or beyond standards, because the assessments and the standards were different. The Common Core came into place that essentially took all the grade level standards and moved them down one. So 4th grade curriculum became 3rd grade became 2nd grade, 2nd grade became 1st grade. So there was a huge shift of a good 5 to 8 years before students started to kind of balance out, because the student who was in 3rd grade went to 4th grade, now they're getting 5th grade curriculum, and they missed a whole year really of curriculum when we implemented Common Core.
The nature of the tests have also changed as well. So the tests are more adaptive now, and it gives us an opportunity to get a better understanding of even if a student is not reaching proficiency level, kind of how you saw with the points or with the distance from standard, the nature of the test gives us the opportunity to really start digging into that better.
My mind wandered off into the weeds about 2 minutes ago. Not me, just thinking Dr. Mendebro's explanation of that. And it's a lot of data points to go ahead and try to absorb.
Mm-hmm.
So, but to answer the question, then there is really no comparing No Child Left Behind scores versus Common Core scores left behind, simply because they're 2 completely different sets of metrics.
Correct.
Yeah.
And No Child Left Behind was abandoned because?
Department of Education changed the standards for federal accountability, and then the state of California adopted those common state standards and changed the term from Common Core to California state standards.
The standards themselves have evolved as well. They've become a little bit more complex, where now what you're even seeing with the science standards is that they're cross-cutting, and that affects how you deliver the instruction as well. So even the nature of what we're measuring has changed significantly. So how we're measuring success has changed. With what we're measuring against has changed, and then the nature of the exams have changed as well.
Okay, I'll get out of the weeds eventually and come up with some intelligent questions to ask about that. But no, thank you. I appreciate your indulgence, gentlemen. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Any other questions for the good doctor? All right. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We're going to move on to 5.1 consent agenda approval. 5.11 approval of graduation diplomas. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Moving on to 5.22, approval of the 2025-26 school plans for student achievement for court and community schools.
Our Assistant Superintendent, Desiree Von Flew, will be presenting an overview of this 25-26 school plan.
Good evening. This is our annual review of our 2 student achievement plans for our court schools and our community schools. I want to remind you that these documents will seem very similar as we share our goals with those that are written in our LCAP and also in our WASC action plans. Both of the documents that you'll be reviewing tonight and will be recommending for approval address social and emotional growth as well as literacy and numeracy growth for our students. This has impact to the funds that we receive. We receive comprehensive support and improvement funds for the fact that the numbers on our dashboard make us eligible for those, and we work in partnership with our English Language Advisory Committee that we have for both the court and community schools, as well as our school site councils, and we receive a significant amount of feedback on our LCAP surveys that we conduct each spring. So as you're looking at this document, you'll see that it's mentioned here the groups that have reviewed this plan and have had the opportunity to impact the goals and action steps before we bring it to you for presentation. We'll be starting off by looking at the community school goals, and these are based often on our scores, but as we just learned, there are a lot of requirements that go along with those scores to be considered eligible to be used as a metric. And for our court schools, we do not have CASP scores to review because we don't have a significant enough population. The students have to be enrolled as of October, and they have to be enrolled continuously without more than 30 days of absences before the testing window opens in the spring. That rarely happens in court schools because the students are not there for a significant enough time to make that window. We also are challenged to accomplish that in our community schools because our students are referred to us on a rolling basis, and when we have the opportunity to return them, we do so at the end of a semester, and so they do not meet that window for the assessment within that year. And so we use another assessment that gives us a little bit more flexibility with the timelines. The STAR Renaissance assessment allows us to conduct review of student performance every 60 days, and we see some great growth in our court schools in that 60-day period. Students are recording growth for 6 months in reading and 7 months in math. And so we feel that this is a much more accurate reflection of what is being accomplished during that instructional time period. So in both of these documents that we look at tonight, we start off by looking at the baselines. And on page 4, I do want to call a correction to your attention. It starts off by talking about the court schools and the baseline being the 23-24 data, And then the expected outcomes for the 24-25, both of those should jump forward 1 year because we are already looked at the 24-25 data, and now we will be submitting these expected outcomes for the 25-26 school year. And that will be reflected in the assessments that we do this spring. Moving on to page 5 of the court document, you start to see where the focus of our funding will be and the goals that we will be working to accomplish there. We're providing additional support to our students through school social workers. We're providing training to our staff for multiple tiered supports. And we also have used the resources of an outreach and engagement facilitator working through the Community Schools Partnership Program to build staff capacity. Looking at goal number 2 on page 6, you'll see that we start to focus on the literacy and the numeracy performance of our students. And here we're really seeing a lot of benefits from our CTE program. All of our students are involved with either our support from our technology specialists. They also build up the rapport of resources for our classroom teachers. We have great CTE certification programs going, and we are working with intervention teachers to provide additional support for students who aren't able to make their acceleration as we would like to see. That wraps up our plan, stating that we will be reviewing the data that we gain from test results and assessments at the end of the school year. And that moves us into the community school plan. Same template, same format, just looking at a different population of students, but many with the same academic needs. We have students that are coming to us in our community school that are entering usually 45 units short of where they should be. That's an entire school year towards graduation, and we are helping them to regain some of that accumulation of units prior to returning to their traditional school setting. And we are also seeing students coming in at the 5th grade reading level. That's our average reading level for our high school students in our community schools. So we are trying to help them with their intervention strategies and gain as much growth as possible before returning to their traditional sites. On page 8 of that document, you start to see our focus with our CTE programs and our instructional specialists that we'll continue to support. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have as to how we're using these funds and what growth we hope to see while those students are enrolled in our program.
Question, if I may, or should I
Yes.
wait till you're done?
I'm finished. You may ask away.
Okay. Do you see the CTE descriptions here of what's happening? We're seeing more and more CTE, aren't we? I mean, more of the trades, the crafts, things like that. Do you have any projections on where we anticipate, where we hope to be in, like, say, 2 to 5 years down the road?
As far as CTE proficiencies and opportunities for students?
CTE proficiencies, but specifically opportunities.
For as far as funding goes, we will continue to offer those programs as long as we have sufficient funding. When you visit the community school campuses, the students that are most engaged are the students who are working on the project-based learning or working in their CTE programs towards their certifications.
Okay, but
And we continue in-house within KCSOS to provide opportunities for growth. We have students that are working with our culinary program, with our nutritional staff, who are learning how to operate and manage kitchens, who are learning safe serve procedures and will be employable and ready to go out into the community once they've finished up their high school diplomas. And we also have continued to add on other vocations. You've witnessed the demonstrations that we've had at board meetings in the past in regards to vehicle maintenance. We have programs that are going through our transportation department where our own staff are working shoulder to shoulder with our students and giving them that firsthand experience so that then in turn, once they have that high school diploma, they're ready to step into the work world with real world experience and a resume that includes these opportunities. So it will continue to grow.
We've seen an example of that. We've tasted an example of that, actually.
Yes.
It's been very good. But just so I understand, let's just say that there was a huge enrollment, or people who, children, students who wanted to enroll in the CTE programs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does the funding follow that? I mean, is the funding based upon the enrollment, or is it a finite amount every year for a specific for these programs?
Those funds are separate from the standard dollar amount that we receive for the traditional education. Deborah Plank and Molly Muir are here this evening. They're our directors of the RISE program, and they are actively pursuing grants with the workforce programs that are available throughout the state and keep those front and center for our students.
So the district itself, I mean, the KCSOS does not have the discretion to assign more dollars to the CTE program if there was a sudden increase in enrollment?
Yeah, all school districts receive a slate amount of money based on ADA. Districts can increase and give additional funds for it, so it depends on the program and the need. We have in past covered other expansions based on student needs.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I have a question. Federal dollars, anything going on with federal money?
Federal right now is as it always has been. We haven't been told anything different.
Okay, so
Yeah,
so we're good
everything that
there.
was funded last year is
funding
been
this year?
funded this year.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
So,
even with the
yeah.
government shutdown.
So then, so CTE, does it get federal funding too?
We have the WIOA and the workforce grant, and both of those are.
Okay. Okay, so then, I noticed that, we have 5th grade level reading. So we're preparing our kids out to the workforce with the CTE. So I'm hoping that they're not reading at 5th grade level.
The students that are enrolled in those programs?
Yes.
Many of the skills that they're learning are hands-on skills.
Right.
And I think that is part of the draw. They feel success and gain confidence because it's not the expectation of geometry and calculus that will be their struggle when they return to focus on the academics solely.
But reading's a different thing.
Exactly, they have to be able to read an application.
Correct. That's why we continue to have our intervention programs to help them strengthen their skills there.
Do you have a volunteer, do you have volunteers in place for those programs, for those, what did you just refer to, what kind of programs?
The workforce programs,
Mhm.
we have staff members. We have you would say that our staff that are with our programs here, the nutrition program and the transportation program, where they're working with the actual mechanics, where they're working with the actual
Well,
cooks.
specific to reading, okay, are there any volunteers that are coming forth to work with the CTE to go ahead and help enhance reading skills?
Not in our RISE program, no.
Is there an opportunity there for that to happen?
If we took into consideration campus security and all of those things, certainly.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I like that idea. Yeah, a little hard where they're at to do that.
It wouldn't be feasible in the court school programs. It
No.
would be in our
Yeah.
community school programs.
I had a quick question about, you said that the court schools don't have CASP scores, and I understand why. Does that negatively impact the overall scores for Kern County if they don't have a score? Does that bring down Kern County as a whole? Does that make sense?
So with my recent responsibilities for KCSOS, it's been all focused on our internal programs.
Okay.
They're not compared, the CDEs the COE programs are not the same as the regular districts.
So they put it in a separate category, you mean, or?
Those numbers usually don't count for the totality because students have to be enrolled for a certain
And
amount of
because we
time.
don't have a sufficient number of students who have completed it, you'll just see it as a dash, like a not applicable when you
Right.
read the dashboard.
So it just doesn't even affect the overall
Correct.
percentage? Okay, thank you.
Okay, have a great evening. I recommend approval.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there a motion to approve the 2025-26 school plans for achievement, student achievement we just discussed?
I move to approve.
There's a motion a motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Moving on to 6.1. Members of the board will report on various topics. We'll start on Lori's end. Trustee Cisneros, you got anything to talk about?
I'm looking forward to the Thanksgiving luncheon next week. Hopefully the trustees are able to attend. We're going to have a chance to serve pie and food and whipped cream and love on those kids a little bit and get to know them a little bit. So I'm looking forward to that. And I hope I'm not stealing anybody's thunder here, because I went to the trustee dinner in McFarland, and that was a really great experience. They had great food and good company, and it was especially special to see the student showcase their different things that they're working on as far as technology and music, and their STEAM program is just really neat to see kids shine like that. As my family and my friends know that I just love that kind of stuff, so it was exciting to be a part of that, and to hear the superintendent, Aaron Resendez, there we go, Resendez. He gave an inspirational speech, which was really powerful, and just reminding us that being here in this seat is a calling, and that we have a purpose for being here. And is really special to hear that from him and his encouragement for that. And then I got to go to the BC Rodeo, and that was so fun. I love rodeos, and it was top notch. So super fun, and very things moved along, and everybody was safe, and there were thousands of people there. It was really impressive, and the vendors, it was all great. I know some people shopped around here. It was fun. No, we had a really good time.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, you're welcome. As far as the historical documents, including the Ten Commandments, I think it's clear that I do support the idea of doing that. I do think that it would bring back truth, and especially historical truth of how our nation was founded. I think that's important for staff and students and parents to remember. And it's not about pushing religion. It's not about teaching the religion. It's simply displaying it as a reminder of where we came from. And I think we've strayed from that foundation in some ways with some of the ideologies that have been pushed in the classroom. And in my opinion, it's important to bring back. I see your sign there, and it's not disrespectful to place the Ten Commandments in the school. I'm just saying it's part of our founding fathers and how they established and wrote and designed the documents that are part of our government today. So it's a reminder to bring that back. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Robinson.
I had the privilege of attending a harvest festival up in Tehachapi put on by Dale and Lori Cisneros back a couple of weekends ago. And I found that to be a wonderfully engaging place. Really and truly. I think it might have been the atmosphere of where it was, up in Tehachapi, and it was kind of a cool day, a little bit of a wind blowing. But to see all of those people and all the families that were there, all of the vendors who were there, all right, just a fun afternoon of a lot of things that the Cisneros have brought back. I'm not saying we're going back to anything. I'm saying there's some things that should go ahead and be brought back. Like hay rides, for example, like large gatherings, okay? Like what was supposed to be bad bluegrass music turning out to be really, really good bluegrass music.
It was really good. It was good.
And the overall atmosphere of that place was nothing but peace and relaxation, people getting together and having a nice time. Nobody was bothering with who followed what doctrine or where anybody came from. They just all got together like people. And I have no idea how many of them were Muslim, how many of them were Christian, how many were Jewish, how many of them were of any other religion. I just saw a bunch of people getting together. They got interested in something that was a wonderful thing to do. It started out as a good idea, and it was enacted, and it turned out to be a really, really great idea. I think that kind of fellowship is really and truly lacking in our schools these days. I really do. I don't think that there is the focus or the moral center that can be provided by doctrines of faith from all around the world. There was nothing exclusive about what I saw in Tehachapi. There's nothing exclusive about the Ten Commandments. They're there for everybody. They're not picking out, they're not saying Christians only. If you're not Christian, go away. I fail to see how the Ten Commandments could be a bad idea. I have not heard one argument yet that has knocked me off my perch as saying, hey, you know what? These were some very, very good commandments. These were good ideas. I don't understand the animosity, often the absolute vitriol that I'm hearing from people who misquote the Constitution, have no idea what the Establishment Clause actually means, and yet they come up and it's just a litany after litany of people saying that. I wish they would go ahead and get their facts straight. Take a look at that. Argue it for some other reason other than it's unconstitutional because they're wrong. Plain and simple. I heard a couple of fairly compelling arguments here tonight. I don't think they've necessarily knocked me off of the direction I'm going with this. Well, that's just disturbing. I'm not going to get knocked off my perch about this, but I did hear a couple of arguments of people that weren't beating that same drum about separation of church and state being in the Constitution, the Establishment Clause, yada, yada, yada. Really and truly, they're parroting wrong things. And they're parroting wrong things at the expense of a possibly very, very good idea, something that would serve everybody. No, I'm not done talking about the Ten Commandments either. I'm not done talking about those historical documents. All of them weigh equally in importance. All of them do. And for all the talk that I've heard from people saying, well, you can't do that because you're going to get sued and it's going to cost them, why don't you stand up to the ACLUs, okay, or the whoever else it is that's out there and tell them, hey, don't sue them. Don't do that. Had somebody stand up and talking about, oh, you got a law firm from Florida. Well, the ACLU, I don't know where they came from. I don't think it was a California-based business to begin with. But the citizens of Kern County, the ones who are really concerned about education, should really take a look at all of those founding documents I hope that all of you get an opportunity to read all of those founding documents. Because all that happened this evening was that because of legalese and a whole bunch of clever tap dancing by a couple of threatening organizations, let's not forget that not only did we not get the Ten Commandments into the school, there were 5 other very, very important documents on that slate that are also not getting into the school. Into the schools, rather, excuse me. So I really do hope that folks will take a closer look at this, really study those documents, instead of just coming here and bloviating about them. That's all I have. Sorry, I apologize. Speaking of vitriol, there's a little bit of that coming out in me right now. I apologize.
Thank you. Trustee Buetron-Tels.
Bakersfield College Rodeo was amazing. We had a very successful event that is a fundraiser essentially for a team of athletes that are only supported through a nonprofit. And so they're all college students. We had 232 college athletes there. It was a wonderful weekend, and we are looking forward to 2026. I'm not going to speak to my personal thoughts on the resolution, if you will, but I am going to encourage my constituents in Area 1, if you would like to spend some time and share some dialogue with me, I would encourage that with my Area 1s. At this time, I have not heard any support from anyone in Area 1 regarding the historical documents. So please reach out through the district, or excuse me, the superintendent's office with emails, and I would like to hear from my constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Eskew.
Well, it's been a busy month. I went to McFarland to the KCSOS dinner. It was, like Lori said, a good time. The students were amazing. Probably should have wore shirts. I forgot about that. They made shirts for us. It was, their printing was amazing. The superintendent did make us cry with his speech, and then this is our calling. This is why we were here. Went to the Harvest Festival at Lori's. That was a lot of fun. Did get to go to the rodeo. Thank you, Julie. I do enjoy rodeos. Those kids, you know, they get on bulls and broncos, and they're college students. That was just amazing.
They're fearless.
They are fearless as kids. So I also got to go and support our local, or they're not local, our CHP for tips for chips. And just us in Kern County, we raised $52,000 for the orphans and widows of CHP. Santa's commercial's out, so get ready. It will air over and over again. The parade is December 4th, so I encourage, if you guys would like to come out, come watch it. If not, Channel 17 will be having it there on their channel.
And you're Mrs. Claus. Make sure everybody
Yes, I am
knows
Mrs.
that.
Claus,
Yes.
So, yeah, I figured almost everybody knew that. But Santa and I did get to open up Holiday Cottage. That is for our local foster children. I do have flyers. I passed them out to the board members. You can go online, or you can go down to the cottage and purchase a gift for our local foster children so they can have a Christmas. So I encourage you, if you would like to do that, like a flyer, I have extra ones here. But if you'd like to go online to do that, it would be great. Also, this year I got to volunteer at the Veterans Day Parade. That was a privilege. Our veterans fought for our freedom, for you guys to come and protest, and for me to have my opinion on the historical documents also. I currently have 2 grandchildren serving. I have a grandson in the Marines. I have a granddaughter in the Navy. I come from a long line of veterans. I am very patriotic. They fought for our freedoms. They come back injured. This year they did a song for the Vietnam veterans, because when they came home, we were very ugly to them. They were called baby killers. They were booed, and they had this song, and I sat there and I watched them, and I cried like a baby. And we need to thank these veterans every time we see them for what they did for us. Because you know what? You don't get to hold up your sign in a boardroom because they fought for your freedom. I don't get the privilege and the honor to be a board member and say what I want to say and have an opinion because they fought for us. And so it was an honor and a privilege to be there and to help with that Veterans Day parade. It was amazing. So I will go into my opinion on the Ten Commandments and the rest of those historical documents. And I saw your sign about a first grade adultery. You know, how about explaining to them about giving a blowjob to a boy in the schools for that book that you're reading them? Or what about the tampons in a boy's bathroom? Or what about a transgender playing volleyball? Are you going to explain that to a first grader? How?
Free speech for that?
What about this? What about a local high school Spanish teacher talking about his transgender son in a Spanish class? You can explain that?
Are you bearing false witness? Are you just
No,
in a public area?
I'm just.
Are you saying?
Can we have some order? The time for public comment has passed, ma'am. Let's have some order, please.
So, I'm just saying, you have the sign. I'm just asking. You have a sign that says that. So I can't wrap my brain around the fact that the Ten Commandments say, don't lie, don't steal, don't murder, don't commit adultery. I have the Constitution, the First Amendment for free speech, the Second Amendment, the bear arms, and you guys don't want these historical documents anywhere. I don't understand that. And I'm sorry to be crude, but there's books in our libraries that our children are allowed to check out that have porn in them, and everyone's okay with it. And no one's fighting for that. No one fights for that. And you mentioned God with a capital G anywhere, and everybody freaks out. Everyone freaks out. And then people claim to be Christian, and they do this. I mean, I don't know. I just honor your mother and father. That's kind of a given. I don't know. I don't know about how, I just don't understand. I just feel that maybe people are deceived and don't understand what they're really meaning. So the Ten Commandments provide essential moral guidance that can help students develop a strong ethical foundation. It can help promote honesty, respect, and responsibility. And we have our Constitution, our preamble, and everything else that goes along with it. So I leave tonight that I'm hoping that when I pass away, that when I get to heaven, they tell me I was a good and faithful servant. That's it.
Thank you, Trustee Eskew. I too attended that trustee dinner in McFarland. I was really impressed, always impressed by their campus and their student band, man. They're so talented. That was very entertaining. And I did attend the rodeo. Thank you, Julie, for that. Impressive what those young college students can do. I wish I was even partially as half as athletic as those college students. Regarding historical documents, I'm sorry not everybody had an opportunity to speak. I do value your opinions and your comments, and it's always important to hear from both sides. So thank you for everybody for being here, even those who were not able to speak. Dr. Mendeburo?
Just a couple of updates for you. First off, the wonderful charter school was notified today that they are the Charter School of the Year. So they're going to be receiving more information, and I will pass that information along to you, but wanted you to know that they were recognized as a Charter School of the Year. We also have served over 100 students this last weekend. We are offering free FAFSA clinics for students, for high school students. We had a site out East Kern, North Kern, and here in central Bakersfield. And we served over 100 students and their families to fill out and guided them to help them with the FAFSA applications for their college. As that was huge. We have a couple more weekends coming up for students throughout Kern County. Last item is, as you know, with the temporary shutdown, the SNAP program was one of those that was stopped for a moment of time. Staff over at the Dream Center, Carter Beardsley, who's our lead education navigator, is in the audience, and Kim Silva and a couple of others at the Dream Center got together and they formed a food drive for students in partnership with other entities within Kern County, and they served a lot of students within several hours. So kudos to them for a quick turnaround and wanting to ensure that the students, particularly those who are served through the Dream Center, did not go without any food during that time period. So just wanted to update you on that. And as we come up to Thanksgiving, thank you for all that you do, for not only serving on this board, but everything that you do throughout Kern County, and remembering that students are our focus as we move forward. So thank you for everything. Have a blessed Thanksgiving, and then we'll see you in December after that. So, or well, on the 19th, according with like Lori said, for the Thanksgiving. But have a good one for a good Thanksgiving to your families.
Oh, yeah, it's a busy schedule.
8.1, any items to be considered for the next agenda? All right, moving on. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, next meeting will be December 9th, 6:30.